There's a huge problem with most of the manifestation practices that you're going to be learning on YouTube from a lot of these gurus. And sure, they might work, but if you want to actually effortlessly manifest things into your life, like the feeling of abundance, love, health, there's a key piece to this that they're not telling you about. Now, I've been a chiropractor for about 12 years now, and a lot of people think that this is just a very physical practice. But the thing is that I've seen is that the main focus of what we're doing here is removing interference in the physical body. And that comes from sometimes in physical standpoint, and it sometimes comes from an energetic standpoint. But what I've seen is that, people have come to me, and this reminds me of a specific story early on when I first started practicing. I had this patient, this guy that I knew from the gym for back in the day. He needed some help physically, and he started coming to me. And he started coming to me because he had an injury, and he thought this career path of becoming a corrections officer was the right path for him. So he was in the school, the Academy for Corrections, and it just wasn't working out. He was having a lot of stuff physically, some knee problems and some back problems and things like that. And then he ended up failing on the shooting test, which I don't think anybody does that. And he was really kind of at that time, didn't really know what to do with his life, but he was still coming to see me. And we were working on fixing his health, but at the same time, he was getting adjusted. And when you get adjusted and you work with the physical body, you remove this interference. And what you're removing the interference from is the energy, the life force, the creative force of the universe that heals the body. So you may be familiar with the quote, "As above, so below." And you might have even heard that the kingdom of heaven is within you. And this is the key piece to that. So the physical body is the centerpiece for consciousness to come through and the 3D world. So if everything is you pushed out, this is a simulation. Everything you're seeing is a generated simulation from the inside. If you're not experiencing the simulation in a way that feels totally aligned with you, and don't worry, I'm going to get back to the rest of that story. So if you're not experiencing the simulation in a way that feels totally aligned with you, what most people generally do is they start going and trying to change their thoughts, change their thinking. And then when that doesn't work, they go into identity shifting and they try to change their identity, which is essentially the same thing. We're trying to change your belief systems, and that helps to another degree. But there is a whole other level to this, where if you unlock it and you work from this point, your thoughts automatically change. Your identity will automatically shift. The actions that you take will become effortless. They will become part of already who you are. And this goes back to that patient that I had, the client that I was working with. And as we were doing this work, we were unknowingly kind of shifting the energy within his body and removing the interference from that flow. And he was a God-fearing man. He went to church, he believed in God. So there was already that spark there. That ended up falling apart as we were doing this work because it was not in alignment with him. If you knew this guy, you would know it was not in alignment with his personality. He was the type of person that when I would see him at the gym, he was like a politician. He would go around, shake everybody's hand, and he knew everybody. It was not for him. And as we went through this process, an opportunity showed up for him to take a totally different route, where he ended up getting into a different business and ended up flourishing. And now he's living in a life of such extreme abundance. If you look back on that version of him, it's not even the same person. And every action that he takes is in total alignment. And the thing is with that, And why this is so important is because he didn't have a vision board. It wasn't even part of his vision. He didn't even know that this was the path for him to take. He just had to kind of trust it. And what ends up actually happening, is that the creative force of the universe, God, knows a path that's for you that you can't even imagine is the right path, the path of abundance. But you only can access that when you start cleansing the vessel, when you start removing the interference for that energy to work through you. Because if you don't remove that interference, that energy is never going to flow through you unimpeded. It's never going to work through you in a way that's clear. Now, when I was going on my own personal development, spiritual journey, whatever you want to call it, the main thing I was trying to look for was clarity. Like, what's my path? What's my path? Clarity. But at the same time, I personally, even though I was helping all these people with their health, was neglecting my health. I was neglecting my vessel. My body wasn't optimized to be able to handle this frequency. Because you'll see people, and they'll tap into this every once in a while, but they might end up developing like a health issue, like a heart problem or something like that. And that's because their vessel was never prepared. And if you look into the Bible, it's very clear about this, that your body is a temple, your body is a vessel for God to work through. And that's a high frequency energy. It's the most powerful force in the universe. It's literally what created you and everything around you. You didn't have to imagine Earth. Like, you didn't have to imagine your life. It's just happening. It's just happening. It's like the nursery rhyme, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. You don't create the stream. You just have to kind of go with it. You have to kind of know how to row so you don't hit into the side of the bank, right? Or you can't go up the stream. You have to go with the flow into the ocean. And that is how you create this life that's totally fantastic, beyond your wildest dreams, without having to work so hard. The only work that you need to actually do is cleanse the vessel, create and remove the interference for that energy and create the capacity for it to work through you. So how do you do this? Like, I think people don't really know how to do this, and they confuse this with the practice of embodiment, right? So people think embodiment is just kind of like fake it till you make it. But you don't really have to fake it till you make it. What you need to do is work with the vehicle, the most advanced piece of technology that you have, which is the physical body. And the physical body goes beyond the physical, but what you can generally work with is the physical. So you have to improve your capacity. That means you have to be able to physically handle that energy. Your body is an electrical, or your body operates on electricity, electromagnetism, and these kind of forces. So if that kind of power is going through you and you don't have the capacity to handle it, it's going to short circuit and you might result in some kind of health problem, injury, issue. So you need to optimize. So you need to optimize the fascial structure, which is a crystalline membrane around all of your tissues that stores energy, channels energy, communicates information. You have to work with that. You have to optimize your nervous system, which is the centerpiece for all of this to go through. You have to support your heart. You have to support all your organs that are going to, in turn, support your brain and your nervous system. And nobody in the spiritual space really talks about this. Maybe it's like people do it without really knowing that they're doing it. You got to build muscle tissue, because your muscle tissue also is a storage of energy, kinetic energy, but it stores glycogen, and it stores this energy and it increases your capacity. And that's also why you'll see people who maybe are great manifestors, because I had a client like this. He was a great manifester. He was a natural channel for this frequency, but he didn't have the physical capacity for it. So what his body did to create the capacity was it created a lot of body fat to handle that capacity. But this is only really a temporary solution, because what body fat does, it's like an insulator, and it dampens the electromagnetic force so your body can handle this frequency. But in the long run, that ended up for him being something that he neglected for too long, despite my efforts, and he ended up passing away. He was channeling this energy, but he wasn't able to handle it. So his body created these mechanisms of being able to kind of lower the frequency so he could handle it. He was a great manifester. He made millions of dollars. He could bring almost anything into his life, but he did not have the capacity for it. His vessel was not prepared. So this is the key. This is the message that I've always been getting. This is the message that I'm always getting on my own journey, that the body is the key. And it's the main principle of what Jesus really spoke about, how you connect to God, the temple. You have to get the temple ready. You have to have the temple ready. This is the temple. It can't just be mind. That's all software programming, the beliefs, the mind, how you feel about yourself. That will shift when the body shifts. People drink, they ingest substances that change their thoughts, that change their frequency. And it's only temporary, but they're using a chemical substance to change their thoughts. And you can even do this with electromagnetism. You can take magnets it's called TMS therapy, and put it on your brain, and you can change the way that somebody is thinking. So I'm going to ask you, why, if you have the ability to change your thoughts, change your beliefs, shift your entire identity by working with the physical body and everything you're doing with the physical body, it's not for vanity. It's not for looks. It's not for aesthetics. That stuff actually is a side effect. You will be better looking. You'll be healthier, be more attractive. But all you had to do in the way that you live your life, in your health practices and things like that, were geared towards increasing your capacity and removing interference. That's it. Those are the only two things. And then if you want to have visions and you want to create something, it's going to come much more easier with much less effort, because you're tapping into the Creator. God is going to do it for you. You're not really doing it. You're just creating the capacity for that energy to flow through. I'm going to go deeper into a lot of this on my future videos. I'm also writing a book about this that's going to go into much more in-depth on how to do it, what you need to focus on, why, and a lot of tools and practices. And I'm also going to be creating a newsletter. So if you want to see this stuff, subscribe to my channel or DM me on Instagram so we can stay connected and you can get some of this stuff, because this is something that when I look out and I try to see what other people are doing, not in comparison, but if anybody's even talking about this, and nobody's talking about this in a direct way. And it's the missing piece. It's literally your keys to the kingdom. It's the keys to the kingdom of heaven that's within you. So subscribe, DM me, let's stay connected so I can get this information to you. Hopefully this was hit some light bulbs for you to know what you need to actually focus on to create the life that you want. And it's not all of those other things. It's not the vision boards. It's not the techniques. It's you. It's taking care of this. So thanks for watching. I hope that this was useful to you. Drop me a comment below. Let me know if there's anything I can clarify or any light bulb moments that you had with this video. And I'll see you on the next one, because we're going to make a series of these just uncovering this for you. So that way you can step into your own power. You can become the best version of yourself. That's why I'm doing this. And maybe you'll see this even 10 years from now. And that's okay. It's the same information. It's always going to apply. This is ancient stuff. This is like 2,000 years old or older, way older. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.